Hey everybody, this is Nate. Thanks for tuning into our post-holiday Retcon special on the Santa Claus 3. Just a reminder advisory, sometimes the show can get a little off script, and our language can jump from PG-13. So if you're listening to this either with small children or in a workplace, just a heads up on that. I want to thank everybody for tuning into our show and being with us this year. And as we go into the next year, really appreciate each and every one of you guys. If you haven't already, check out nonessentialmedia.com. Check out the other podcasts that are available there. We're going to have some updates coming in the next year, new shows, new opportunities to be involved. I'm really excited. And then before I let you go, we're going to be taking a brief hiatus, a post-holiday hiatus. Only should last for about a week though, so expect episodes to resume as normal in 2 weeks. Thanks so much, guys. I hope you enjoy the episode. Holy cow, is that a bad movie? Welcome to our holiday edition of Retcon. This week, or this month, I should say, we're talking about everyone's favorite first holiday film that comes to your mind. That's the Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause, which is funny because every other time I mention this movie, I did not know there was a subtitle.
Yeah, there is, but it's the Santa Claus 3, and everybody automatically is like, okay, we're good.
It's the third one. It's the Godfather Part 3 of the Santa Claus trilogy. So, this was my first experience ever watching this film.
But yeah, so the Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause, I'm personally a fan of the first two. I can say that honestly, before now, I've only probably watched the third one other full time. Other than that, I've just seen the bits and pieces. And it was as bad as I remember. It was not a good one in the trilogy of the Santa Claus movies.
It's certainly no Back to the Future 2. I don't know why I compare it to that, but with the weird, like, alternate future times, that was the first thing my brain compared it to. But anyway, some background information on the film. It was released November 3rd, 2006. That both feels like yesterday and so long ago.
Right? Yeah.
It was directed by Michael Limbeck, who I did not look to see if he's directed any other films because I was so horrified with this movie.
You don't want to know?
I don't want to know. I don't know. How heartbreaking would it be to find out my favorite movie was directed by the same guy who did The Escape Clause? No disrespect to him. I hope he's got great work since then. It was written by Ed Decter and John J. Strauss. It stars Tim Allen, Martin Short, a lot of other people. I saw Aisha Tyler was Mother Nature.
Mother Nature, yeah. A lot of returning characters that were in the previous movies too. So there was Art LaFleur played the Tooth Fairy.
Yeah, I saw a lot of familiar faces.
Yes.
It had a budget of $12 million, and at the box office it made $110.2 million, making me wonder what beautiful soul made sure we didn't get a fourth one. Rotten Tomatoes, when I last checked it, had a score of 17% critically, and the other score being 3.69 out of 10, being the audience approval rating. Metacritic has it sitting about 32 out of 100. Not great.
Not at all, no.
So, Cheyenne, you suggested this movie.
It was mostly a joke.
But you didn't hesitate either. Like, I joked about doing a holiday special, and you're like, the Santa Claus 3.
Well, like I said, I believe I saw the first one in theaters with my grandparents. I know I definitely saw the second one in theaters with my grandparents. So, to me, there's, a hard nostalgia factor. And, it is the holiday season, so nostalgia tends to...
Sorry, I just really wanted you to go, it's the holiday season.
You just did it for me.
Just edit that.
But so I mean, it's for me, it was a big deal in that, like, you know, I love those movies, but the third one, like I said, I've only probably seen it all of twice now, all the way through, and that's how much of an impression it made on me as being terrible.
So. Yeah. This is definitely one that I'm probably only going to watch once.
I don't blame you.
To the point where I'm scared to go watch any of the others because I don't know if I could do it again.
They're good.
Okay.
Honestly, okay. They're much better. Like, they're written, like, especially the first one is definitely written with a lot of jokes in mind for the adult viewer.
Okay. So it's not just Kitty Fest.
No.
Kitty Fest 2019. I don't know. It sounded like a music venue.
I was going in a much darker place, but okay.
I'm glad that I didn't go to that level. That's dark. I'm there now. Oh, God, no. Take me out. But anyway, before we get to a recap of the movie, do you want to give just a general recap for those like myself who hadn't seen the first two films? What is this series about?
Okay, so in the first movie, we have Tim Allen unwittingly becoming Santa Claus.
As one does.
Right, and his kind of, like, his coming to terms with it, along with trying to, you know, negotiate that he has a child and who lives with his ex-wife and her new husband, and, you know, trying to, because his son is in on it. He was with him when he went on that first unintentional sleigh ride of holiday cheer.
As what does. Who hasn't this holiday season?
Right. Totally going out of my way to hand out a bunch of gifts on a reindeer-pulled sleigh in a suit that was not mine.
Like in a dead man's suit.
So, you know, it's him coming to terms with that and, you know, with his son Charlie. The second one, we find out that in order to stay Santa, after 10 years of being Santa, he must find a Mrs. Claus. They wait until super last minute and give him 28 days to do so. So he has to get married by Christmas Eve or he doesn't get to be Santa anymore, which also brings up a lot of questions about what would happen if he wasn't Santa. Like, how would another Santa come about?
Yeah, does someone just come with a baseball bat and knock him in the back of the head and be like, hey, free suit?
Well, it's just like, if he doesn't, because this whole thing about the desantification, so he's, you know, he's like slimming down rapidly.
So it's like the opposite of the first movie. He slowly becomes Santa, and this one he slowly unbecomes Santa.
But it's not slow. It's a very rapid, like, within the 28 days, he's back to being Tim Allen instead of Tim Allen as Santa Claus. So he has to find a wife. So it's his, you know, deal with trying to find a wife in 28 days. There's this
Wasn't there a film called, like, How to Lose a Guy in 28 Days?
How to Lose a Guy in 10 days.
Damn, I was going to say, that'd be a great...
And then one of my favorite parts of the Santa Claus 2, though, is when he goes on a date with a woman who's obsessed with Christmas. Like, she's wearing a Santa Claus shirt, but it's Tim Allen as Santa Claus on the shirt, and she does this whole song number, and
is he,
it's
like,
the mom.
famous? Like, people in the world know he's Santa Claus?
I have no idea.
Okay, because that's super bizarre.
It was,
that's not how it is in the third movie, so I'm like, wait, what?
No, I think it's just, like, a general, but they just, like, as a little, like, haha, if you notice it, like...
It's Tim Allen.
It's Tim Allen. But then it's this whole number where she does, like, this song and dance in a restaurant, and it's the actress who played Cindy Lou's mom, Betty Lou, in How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the live action with Jim Carrey. So that one's a little fun. But yes, but by the end, of course, he finds a wife and, you know, Christmas goes on, and then we get to the third one.
Are the in-laws a big part of the
No, you don't even know they exist. I mean, she's an adult woman. She has her own life and everything.
Because
the
in-laws were a weird inclusion.
They were, especially when you've seen the first and with the second one, and then you go into it, and yeah, because especially considering in the second one, Carol mentions that her parents fought a lot, except around Christmas. And then again, remembering now that the whole fight about Yosemite it makes sense.
It's a very weird movie.
Yes.
So let's recap the third movie, and then we can talk about our thoughts on it. So this movie opens with, I guess, the new, like, Mrs. Claus. I was going to call her the new Mrs. Claus, but that's not accurate. There wasn't. I mean, I guess there was originally a Mrs. Claus, but this iteration of Mrs. Claus,
which Mrs. Claus brings up a whole other bag of questions about the first movie as well. But regardless,
did his wife also disappear Kenobi style?
Right.
Or did the elves were just like, beat it, sister, there's a new Santa Claus in town. I really hope they did it like a newsie, just like that.
So many questions are raised with the disappearance of the Santa.
What if a woman puts on the Santa jacket?
Right.
What happens then? Does she have to find a Santa Claus after 10 years?
That is also a good question.
Or is she both the Santa Claus and the Mrs. Santa Claus? She's like a half a beard.
Oh my gosh. Anyways,
that's amazing.
We open with Mrs. Claus teaching some little elf children in the elementary.
Even literaler elves.
Yes.
You thought they were little before.
And of course she starts out with those really obnoxious math questions about, if
reindeer.
Yeah, instead of the train question, it's reindeer leaving Elfsburg, which has literally never been mentioned before that movie either.
Now I have questions. Are there elf communities outside of the North Pole?
Right. You just have so many questions that start popping up the further you delve into things.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then they start asking, like, they don't want to learn about math and reindeer traveling.
I'm never going to use this math. I make toys.
Right.
It seems kind of messed up. They live in the North Pole. Teach them about the outside world. They're just going to want to go out and explore.
You would think so. Yeah, there's plenty of other movies
as much as I personally would be like, go for it. That's going to hurt Santa's business at the end of the day.
And it's just like, I mean, there's so many like other movies that bring that up about, kids being raised in the North Pole wanting to spread their wings and go explore the world and shirk the duties of Santa.
Also, how 1984 is it that the person teaching them is the wife of their future employer?
That's because she was a principal formerly, so she has education experience.
But still, there's a conflict of interest. If one of them was like, I want to see the world, I think you need to work on your screw driving there, Billy.
So then she starts into the story about her being pregnant, and
we smash cut to
literally smashing through some doors.
Yes, we smash cut to a literal smash cut. I almost wanted to say we smash cut to a literal smash mouth. That would have been amazing.
Oh my god.
There's number one fix for how to fix this movie. More smash mouth.
It's a little late. 2006 was a little late for the smash mouth.
Don't care. We needed something fun in it.
That is true. But yeah, so it's Mrs. Claus, we learned it's another false alarm for baby coming. And apparently the elves have had it, even though it's applied that this was only the second one. The elves are really fed up with these false alarms. And then
they probably don't have a lot of human experience. There's usually a maximum of 2, apparently, that are ever in the North Pole at a time. So.
Right.
And it leaves questions that have no other Santa Clauses ever had children then?
See, the further you delve, the more questions start popping up about the world that they're in.
If our Tim Allen Santa Claus dies, and he dies in the North Pole, is the jacket handed to his wife or his child? Right? How does the line work? Or do they just find some other schlub? Right.
There's just so many questions.
Tony Shalhoub.
Huh?
Tony Shalhoub is Santa Claus. Let's go. Let's reboot right now.
But then they go back and, they're sitting in a study or sitting room or something. And Tim, then the whole moment of your terror with Tim Allen.
Yeah, where he, in an attempt to deliver a gift to his own wife, who's still in the room with him. He then leaves the room and appears inside of, like flying down a chimney that's shaped after his own face, to which the mouth of the chimney opens.
While saying ho, ho, ho.
Well, yes, while saying ho, 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 to the most terrifying image of Tim Allen's face belching out Tim Allen into the world.
Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho. And the kind of scene that makes you literally stop the movie and go, oh, God, no.
Giant Tim Allen fireplace.
I would say you'd have to watch it to see it, but I don't want you to watch it. I don't want to put that curse on you.
And then he has a toy for the baby, and then the doctor comes.
Which was terrible CGI, by the way.
Right.
He flicks it, and it turns into the
mobile.
Yeah. I was like, ooh, that looks bad.
Yeah. Yeah, that was awful.
There was a lot of poor CGI in this movie as well. 2006, it makes sense.
Yeah, unfortunately it was just not good. But then the doctor comes and is checking on Carol, aka Mrs. Claus, and then Curtis from the second movie comes in. He's apparently now the head elf, and he's letting Santa know that the council of the
legendary figures.
Yeah, of legendary figures are there. And that they need to talk about something. Of course, Santa thinks it's about...
Yeah, and they didn't have a lot of representation of a lot of other holidays.
No. It's the same as the first, or as the second movie, just with the introduction of Jack Frost.
Yeah. Which makes me wonder how many minor legendary figures they've just been leaving out.
Right?
Right? Is there like a Thanksgiving legendary figure that, like, they don't bother to invite?
Well, there's not even, like, anything for Halloween.
Yeah, there's no Halloween legend because it's Michael Myers wasn't available.
Right. But it's Mother Nature, Father Time, Cupid, the Easter Bunny, and the Tooth Fairy. Oh, and Sandman, which was Sandman.
Yeah. I would really love a cut of this movie where they have a legendary figure for the 4th of July. That would be amazing.
But there's
the American only release.
And then after that, Carol walks out. She's just fed up with only ever seeing Tim Allen as the only other adult.
If Tim Allen was my husband, I'd walk out on him too.
And that, he's super busy and she doesn't want to,
Seems like we probably should have talked about this. It
right.
Seems like this whole movie is a consequence to the last movie. If he had just really taken his time and been like, hey, so I'm looking for a partner who likes to spend almost all of their time away with me, but not isolated because there's a bunch of children people.
See, he kind of touched on that in the second movie. When the first time he's explaining to her that he's Santa Claus, he kind of touches on like, oh, I work way up north and I'm away from home most of the time and, all of this. But she, of course, doesn't believe that he's Santa Claus because crazy man thinks he's Santa Claus.
I mean, yeah, if Tim Allen walked up to me and he's like, hi, I'm Santa Claus.
Well, especially because at this point, like...
He doesn't look like Santa Claus.
He doesn't, no, he no longer looks like the beard is gone. He's back to his natural hair color. He's skinny again. He's no longer Santa Claus fat, like...
There's fat, and then there's Santa Claus fat.
Well, I mean...
It's the stage right between skinny and thick. Santa Claus fat.
But yeah, and then we learned that Jack Frost is trying to like take over Christmas.
Yeah, which
at this point,
they never touched on the fact that he set up like 300
almost
displays where he's like trying to make his own Christmas holiday.
Frostmas.
Yeah, across America.
Yeah,
that gets mentioned once and then completely dropped.
Yes.
And I'm like, I want to know what's going on with all these people who are like, Frostmas sounds good to me.
Right.
Which I guess is our only really hint to what would happen later in the movie.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to figure out where they set up in the beginning we'll get to it. But anyway, keep going with our council of legendary figures.
Yes, so we learned that Jack Frost is infringing on Christmas, and so they're trying to bring up, 278 counts of infringing on Christmas against him, and they're gonna, boot him from the council. He'll no longer be a legendary figure. The council
that we've never seen him a part of until now.
Right. And all of that. So then but then Santa's he appeals to Santa's better nature, and Santa's well, he can work up here with me to, regain the trust and all of that. But there is a brief mention, because Santa has a little, freak out moment where he's we're behind and we might miss an entire continent. Where they're well, what about the escape clause? And Jack Frost is over there what now? Escape? He can escape this? Because he
this
feels...
fresh hell?
Yeah.
Unlike me, the person watching the movie?
And so, of course, the council agrees to let Jack Frost, work off his crime, essentially, with Santa.
Dun, 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 dun.
Well, he's put out because he's just Jack Frost, and later on in the movie, Lucy, Neil, and Laura's, the ex-wife and her husband, that's their daughter.
Yeah.
Who calls, Santa Claus Uncle Scott.
That's really confusing.
Which is just... Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's easier than...
Random dude Scott.
Guy who used to bang my mom, Scott.
My mom's ex-husband, who whom I have a brother.
Yeah.
His dad. My brother's father.
My half-brother's father.
Yeah. But he's very put out because he's not a holiday. He's just hey, winter's coming.
Yeah, so is there a summer equivalent to Jack Frost out there somewhere? Or spring or fall?
Not that we're ever introduced to. I think maybe that's what the Easter Bunny... No,
because that's a holiday. Is that what Mother Nature does?
Maybe.
The rest... She gets the rest of the year?
Yes. Her and Father Time get everything else.
I mean, well, Father Time, he has time.
Right.
So he has everything.
But, yeah, so then, of course, at this point, Scott has also decided that he's bringing his in-laws up.
Yes, in order to make things easier on his wife, who needs some human connection. I don't understand why he can't, I know he wants to be there for the birth, but, why couldn't you have her go stay with her family, and then you got a fucking magic sleigh that lets you travel the whole world in one night?
Which he uses in the course of the film as well.
Why can't you just, the baby's coming, go on Prancer, on,
Comet. Comet is the big one. Comet and Chet were the ones. Chet was in the second movie.
Okay, that's a terrible name for reindeer.
It is, but that's Chet. He's the one who kept laughing with that weird kind of other laugh. You had Comet, who was laughing like a normal person, but then you had Chet, who was hey.
2006 movie? What is wrong with you?
So in the second movie, Chet is a reindeer in training. Because Scott took Comet down. Lucy introduces Comet to Candy, and Comet does not understand the concept of self-control, like many people, including myself.
Like an animal?
Any...
ultimately the reindeer are animals?
Yeah. So he ends up, rotund. Legs don't hold him up.
Santa fat.
Oh, no. He's beyond Santa fat.
Ooh,
his legs are just kind of, he's not even standing by the end of the movie. So they have to utilize Chet so that he can get to the sleigh where the... toy Santa is trying to take over Christmas.
Oh my goodness. I think I've discovered...
That whole part was terrible too, I'm not gonna lie.
I think I've discovered what's wrong with this movie, and potentially the second one, is that it's trying to do too much.
It really is. Yes. So then Santa takes Comet and Chet down to get the in-laws.
Yes.
And ends up unintentionally bringing back his ex-wife, her husband, and their child Lucy, and his son Charlie. who is only kind of played on.
Yeah, he only gets like 2 scenes in the entire movie.
That part when he's like, "Oh, hey, Dad," and then towards the end, and that's really... But it is still the same actor who played Charlie for the previous 2 movies, which is kind of cool to me.
Yeah, that's nice at least.
Continuity, man.
But I really like the scene he has in the alternate history where he's like super angsty.
Oh, yes. Oh,
you don't
yes.
even care, Dad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good. It was...
I saw that.
You gotta have an angsty teenager somewhere, man. So he goes down to get so this is when they've decided he takes Sandman down to knock his in-laws out.
Yeah.
And they get into a fight, and also they make a lot of quips about the fact that they never see them, which Santa only has the one night, and then the elves do, like, all the toy making and everything. Like, why can't they visit more?
Also, everything seems so rushed. I was like, what'd you guys take, like, a 6-month vacation?
Right. Yeah.
I know there's a lot of kids in the world, but, like... You guys seem like you're doing 80% of the work in the 2 weeks leading up to it.
Right. So, yeah. So, Santa goes down. There's lots of quips. And then they get into his in-laws get into a fight about Yosemite. Sandman gets annoyed. So, he knocks them out before they're in the car. And then takes a nap.
Yeah, and then promptly puts himself to bed. In the weirdest scene I've ever... A grown man just like...
Right, curling up in the chair.
Like, and I'm just like, that's not only is that looks so uncomfortable.
No.
I would not be able to sleep like that. But B, like, you could have done anything. Like,
right, there's plenty.
You could have ran around the corner and found a bedroom.
Yeah. So, and then they go back up to the North Pole where they are turning it into Canada, which they do obnoxiously
in order to lie.
To the
in-laws and not reveal the Santa's secret or whatever.
Because of the SOS, the secret of Santa.
They have to pretend that everything's Canadian. Which I feel like I know it's a kid's movie, but like it would take like maybe 10 minutes before someone went, alright, hold on. I've not seen a single, like...
Oh, no, they do that.
Well, I know they do little bits.
Her dad actually full-on remarks, like, why are they all so short?
Yeah, but also,
the mom is like, why are everyone here so petite? And the dad is like, no, Tom Cruise is petite.
Good joke on Tom Cruise.
It is. Especially considering he's an inch taller than me, and I'm 5'3", so that's saying something.
I was watching something the other day. Oh, I think it was actually this movie that Martin Short was standing next to somebody in character, and he's short.
Yeah, no, he is, but...
Yeah, look at my notes. Martin Short is so short. It lives up to the name. I'll give him that.
Right.
It'd be weird if he was tall.
It would be. But yeah, so but Martin Short is still taller than Tom Cruise. Martin Short is 5'6.5". Just putting that out there.
It could be that they, for whatever reason, decided to make the character short. I don't know.
Who knows?
There's a lot of questions I have for this movie that'll never be answered.
Oh, so many questions about the whole world that this movie inhabited.
A whole new world.
But so yeah, so they've turned everything into Canada, which brings me to one of my points about the movie as well.
Offensive to Canadians.
Well, yeah, that too. But my other bigger point is all of the camp. I felt like I was watching the old school Batman TV show because everything was elf. Elfsburg, Elementary, which is why I was emphasizing that earlier. Like, literally everything is elf. And then they try to turn it into, like, Canadian Bacon Exchange and the big and tall. And I'm just like, literally the only person in this, the only people in this town are...
big and tall store, but it's full of tiny people.
And then, like, maple leaf sweets and, just trying to make it seem Canadian when...
Which it seems like they're so far behind on production. How much time did they waste turning this town into Canada?
Right. Yes. And then, so the in-laws are there, and Jack Frost starts causing mayhem, and then...
turning people against each other and freezing machines. And
yes, causing worse problems, trying to make everything harder on Scott. Trying to get him to invoke the escape clause. And also just being weird in a lot of places with the family.
Yeah. There's definitely some uncomfortable moments. Anytime Jack Frost interacts with any woman, any girl, even the scene when he interacts with a little girl, I'm still like...
Right, he's a little weird there.
Do you want to be my elf? No, fuck off, buddy. Like,
and then
whistle.
And then the whole part about when he's interacting with Carol's mom.
Oh, it's
and
so
like the
bad.
whole when she with the singing and he's
I did like that. The only line of the song he cared about was the line
Jack Frost
referring to him.
Yes.
Yeah. That I thought was actually pretty funny. I laughed at that.
Okay, but the way he reacts to it is creepy.
No.
He's so creepy and inappropriate.
There's a difference between like, I'm selfish, and this line's about me.
But then
like,
he's getting like
clearly like turned on by it, and I'm just like,
yes. And then he asks Carol's mom to be his elf as well, but like it's even creepier than.
Oh yeah.
Like he ramped up the creep factor for that. I love Martin Short, but no, dude, stop. And then, and he's, trying to flirt with Carol as well, Mrs. Claus. He's just trying to do that. But, yeah, it's just a bunch of things.
I feel like those are, side objectives for him. He's like,
he was working on his own Mrs. Claus.
That's right. He's like, I'm not going to take 10 years to do it. Get it right now.
I'm going to learn about her now so that I can move in right after.
Perfect.
Which actually brings up another question.
What happened to her in the alternate timeline?
No, actually. So it took 10 years and Scott had to find a wife before his 10th Christmas, right? Mm-hmm. Or his 11th or whatever.
But in the alternate timeline, it's 30 years.
12 years.
Or 12 years.
It was 12 years, but Jack Frost doesn't have a wife.
Yeah.
At least none that's explained. So did he have to worry about the Mrs. Claus? I just thought of that.
Do you think he spent the entire 10 years just, horrifying every woman on the planet?
Yeah, probably.
Until the elves are like, all right, you know what? We'll mark it out. It's fine.
Right? Like, what, did they go to Mother Nature and get her to remove it? Because they're just like, no. Or did Mother Nature do it independently because she's like, no.
We have no idea what happens with the other legendary figures in the future.
Yeah,
It seems like instead of going straight to the North Pole and having the showdown, spoiler, he could have easily gone back to Father Time and be like, hey, Father Time, do you mind rewinding the clock?
Right. Well, maybe because he's no longer a legendary figure, he couldn't contact them anymore. Like, he had no way of getting in touch with them now that he's no longer Santa. And in this timeline, he's never been Santa.
I like the idea that in this alternate future, Jack Frost has now murdered all the other legendary figures.
So it's just Jack Frost and Christmas.
Jack. Yeah.
And his Christmas.
Well, here's the thing. He's also clearly breaking the SOS.
Right. Yeah.
And now, there seems to be zero consequence.
Right. Yeah, that is true.
So I'm like, the only other way he could do it is if he murdered anyone who got in his way, like Carlito style.
Which, I mean, considering everything we see of Jack Frost is not, beyond the realm of belief.
Yeah, I full on thought at one point, I was like, oh, those parents are dead.
Right. I was just going to get to that. So
I was like,
so we learn more about the escape clause.
Kids movie. I knew they'd be saved somehow, but I'm like, they're dead.
So, but it's a kids movie, so of course we find out about, at this point is when we find out more about the escape clause and how there's apparently a snow globe, for every
Santa
that ever exists. And if the current Santa holds their particular snow globe and say that they wish they'd never been, they can go back in time and change it. Jack Frost learns this and just now needs to find the Hall of Snow Globes, which is really just a, dome of snow globes.
It's
like a snow globe itself.
They give it such a cool name, and then it turns out it's just
an ice cavern where there's floating snow globes.
I was like, you don't have to name that room.
Right.
The least people who know about the room, the better.
That's just, it's just a secret room, guys.
Yeah. It's just hey, elves who helped me build that secret room behind the soda machine, thanks. Don't ever talk about that room or you're fired.
Well, they could have just, like, built the room and then, like, Santa could have gone in and put in the, like, special door so that, like, no one would really be able to do anything. They're
guys,
okay, random
thanks for
ice
helping
cavern.
Thanks for helping me build my nuclear fallout shelter. Yeah, maybe
in the North Pole.
Maybe it's a little silly, but, like, you never know.
So
our emergency stockpile of food. Thanks, guys.
And then for some reason, Scott takes Lucy there, which
she likes snow globes. That was the
other than that, though, there's no real reason.
She's like, "This is my snow globe." She was just like, "Bam!" Yeah, just like knock it off the shelf.
So then
I'm Santa now,
right? So then, of course, Jack Frost is lurking like right there. But they don't see him.
Classic children's villain. If only he did like the super high knees, like the little walk. Like, that would have been amazing.
And then he gets the snow globe, and of course he's still causing mayhem, and there's problems so that, he doesn't, so that Santa is stressed to the max, and he manages to coerce Santa, which I feel like that should be...
There should be a rule. If you don't... A lot of these clauses, there should be like... Clearly, they need a legal elf to go through here,
right?
And be like, "There's too many loopholes."
Right, because he doesn't even he's holding it, and he of course doesn't even recognize that it's his snow globe at first either.
I think this movie is a rule to anyone that if you're opening a gift,
look at it,
focus on your gift, and then start talking to the person who gave it to you.
And so he coerces Santa into saying that he doesn't want to be Santa, and they go back in time to...
I wish I was never Santa at all, or something like that.
Yeah, it's a serious, and so he has to coerce him into saying it.
He has to say it exactly.
Yes. So then they go back in time, because Jack Frost hitches a ride, and they go to the events of the first movie, except it's before Scott had originally come out and found Santa.
How great would it have been if during their time travel we saw Bill and Ted's phone book flying in a different direction, the TARDIS going one way and the phone book going the other,
and the random DeLorean up in a corner.
Jack Frost gets into the windshield of the DeLorean. Oh, that would be great.
And so then there is a fight over. So Jack Frost gets Santa's attention and he falls off the roof per the original. I mean, it's Jack Frost's fault, but falls off the roof.
Yeah,
suit disappears.
No matter what happens, they still kill this Santa,
which I find interesting, considering it was a fall from a second story onto a snowdrift.
Yeah,
I feel like that's not something you would die from.
And he full on Kenobi's.
He does. He just disappears.
Which would be better than taking a jacket off a dead man.
Right.
But the first movie, you're like, oh, it's an accident. There's nothing I can do. I was like, as soon as you involve time travel, you can look at the ethical ramifications of what you've done,
right?
And be like, oh, there's an opportunity for me to let this man live his life, and I can take the lessons I've learned and just be a better human being.
Right. So yeah, he and they get into a fight, and eventually Jack Frost knocks Scott out with a shovel that appears out of nowhere. He
doesn't even knock him out. He hits him with the shovel, and it just rolls onto his back. Waits 30 seconds and goes, "You hit me with a shovel!"
Which the shovel appeared out of nowhere. Yeah, I must say. And what is a shovel doing in the middle of the yard?
I mean, I guess they could have been shoveling snow together to build the snowman they were hiding behind.
Maybe. But the snowman wasn't even there in the original. There was nothing in the yard in the original movie. So it's just a random snowman that they added.
I thought, watching the movie, I was like, oh, they probably had that snowman there. No, they didn't.
They didn't.
They could have easily done anything else. They could have had them appear further back.
Right, the bushes. He could have dragged him from the bushes.
Did they use the exact same shot from the original movie of Santa falling?
Yes, that is still, the same as far as I can tell, especially because they used the footage for later on with
they do it.
Charlie, since it is the same actor, and of course it's been many years since then.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing if they tried to get the adult or late teen version of him to play the, 8-year-old. Oh.
So at this point, Jack Frost puts on the jacket, everything changes because now he is Santa.
This is our Back to the Future 2 moment.
Yes, so now we've gone back in time, and then we go forward into this alternate universe. Jack Frost is
I'd like
Santa
to take
Claus.
a moment to explain that as I'm watching this movie, and we get to this part, this is 2/3 of the way through the movie.
Yes.
And we're only now getting to this.
Yes.
And I'm like watching the movie like, what?
I know.
They
rushed this whole thing.
Stopped the movie and looked at the time and I went, really? We have less than 30 minutes and you're just now implementing the time travel?
Yes.
So we're going to get 0 time to explore this?
Yes, that is exactly what happened.
What a waste.
I know. They did this. Their time management skills were left a lot to be desired.
Could have used some tips from Father Time.
So, so at this point...
They could have done so much.
They could have. But all we get is Scott in business attire on Christmas Eve, finds out he always works Christmas Eve.
Yeah, I can't remember. The guy who plays the assistant has been in other things. I can't remember. It's not worth pulling up his name. But he's familiar.
He is, I can't remember what he's been in or who he is either. So, and we find out that, he's been, he works Christmas Eve. Oh, wait, I think he's Barry from The Big Bang Theory. All of a sudden it came to me.
Yes. And that our character has, our what is his name? I don't even know. What is Tim Allen's character, Scott? Scott has essentially become Mr.
Scrooge. Yeah, he's become Ebenezer Scrooge.
I almost said Mick Scrooge, and I was like, where did that come from?
Scrooge McDuck, maybe.
Yes. But he's essentially has become Scrooge. He works every Christmas.
Yeah, and he never sees his family, never mentions his family, so he goes to try and find Laura, his ex-wife, and Charlie. We find out that...
They split.
Yeah, due to Charlie just not accepting Neil because his dad is a giant a-hole to him all the time.
Yeah, like are we really to believe that he's somehow still so much worse than the already kind of asshole he is as Santa Claus?
He is, yes. We find out he is because at least as Santa Claus, like he
keeps the family together.
He has his family. You know, Charlie grew up to be a well-adjusted teenager, considering his dad is Santa Claus.
Yeah, I feel like that would mess you up somehow.
I know. Maybe it's because he's 8 and he still believes in Santa at that point when his dad becomes Santa.
Be like, hey, Dad, when you come over tomorrow to drop off my present, you're going to get me a bunch of puppies and a brand new computer, right? And he's, you got it, buddy. Christmas morning. Socks! God damn it, Dad!
So they've split up. Charlie is with Laura, of course, and they find that this is when Scott finds out that Jack Frost has commercialized Christmas, and that every year Neil takes Lucy up to the North Pole for North Pole stuff.
If weather's already such a problem,
I know,
where we live, where flights are almost constantly being delayed when it gets to winter, how awful must it be to try to fly to the North Pole? Do you only fly to Iceland and then they tow you the rest of the way or something?
So we find out and
put you on an ice cat and wish you luck,
So then we get to the North Pole. He manages to charter a flight on Christmas Eve.
I do want to make a note. I really love the shot where they pull out from him and then do the full shot of the airplane. But then as that was happening, I had to laugh because they clearly show that he's on the last third of the airplane, and
he's apparently can afford his expensive car, but he can't afford a good plane ticket. But then again, like I said, it is Christmas Eve. Maybe that was the only ticket they had left.
Okay. You that's fair.
I just thought of that. Yeah, maybe that was the only thing they had available.
But I really like the idea that the super rich, expensive businessman who can drive a Ferrari,
right?
Still flies.
It was a Ferrari or a Porsche. I don't remember.
I think it was a Ferrari, but I could be wrong. And someone who's watched this movie, let us know. And God be with you. Don't watch this movie if you haven't already. Please don't.
It's not worth finding out what car he drives.
Not to reach out to me 2 months from now and be like, it was indeed a Porsche. Not worth it, buddy.
But, so, yeah, then he gets to the North Pole, and it's just commercialized as all heck.
Yeah, I think the only clue we have that Jack Frost would do that was the posters outside the mall.
Right, outside the stores.
There wasn't a lot of build-up to be like...
Right. Well, he basically says that he was tired of going to the children of the world, so he revealed the secret and brought the children to him. I wonder how many Christmases it took before he did that.
1.
Probably. Like, it was the first Christmas and he was just done.
He probably got about halfway through one continent and was like, you know what? Fuck it. Drop it all. New landfill. Here we go.
So, yeah. So we and he essentially says, like, your parents love you as much as money as they'll spend on you.
Yeah,
and he has
very, very dark timeline. Very much Biff's, like, future from Back to the Future, too.
Yeah, he's just...
I also love that they have a whole riff off of New York, New York.
Yes, and then, Martin Short's number, and then...
So cringy.
It is, and then the elves are just so fed up with him, obviously.
I love the really
They're just
big t-shirts they have to wear.
Right? They gotta put up with all these terrible children.
Give them children-sized t-shirts.
I know!
Their primary market is children.
I know! They made to wear those, like, larges that, like, if they were wearing shorts would be dresses on the girls kind of thing.
It's so bad. The whole time I was like, they didn't have excess children's shirts?
Apparently
they gave them
not.
excess adult shirts? At that point I was like, okay, Jack Frost is just a dick.
So, yeah, and then he runs into Lucy and Neil, and Neil is obviously like, about Scott, and...
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, in this timeline, Scott's definitely been an asshole.
Right.
I would argue in every timeline, Scott's been an asshole, but...
And then Lucy, instead of referring to him as Uncle Scott, is Mr. Calvin. Very formal. But he manages to convince Lucy to help him by getting into the Hall of...
to steal.
Yes.
Hey, Lucy,
At Christmas.
I know I'm a rich man that you've probably only met a couple times, and that Santa Claus is, like, your idol.
Right.
Do you want to help me fuck Santa Claus over?
I know, it's just...
And she's just like,
all because he knows that she likes snow globes.
I really know about this one random thing you like to collect.
Right.
Which I could probably find out just by your browser history.
Right.
Do you
Your
want
MySpace page, because it is 2006.
Ooh. God, flashback. I wasn't prepared for that. Do you want to help me break into this totally secret room and steal only one of the snow globes?
Right, but then you have to give it to me.
Yeah. And
you don't even get to keep it.
None of those snow globes. Don't fuck with them, young lady. Only that one snow globe.
And then,
I want to see that take. Just write out everything I just said and give it to Tim Allen.
Which opens up the question, what would happen if you messed with another Santa snow globe?
Yeah, like, I thought it'd be really interesting if they implemented that. Like, you touch another Santa and it gives you, like, a holographic, almost like Jedi holocron, like right. Santa holocron, where it's like, I'm the Santa from the years 1946 to 1962.
Like, do they depart words of wisdom about things they've learned?
And let me warn you about AIDS.
Oh my god. I wonder how well the Santa from the World War II era, what he would have to say about all of that.
The Germans are dicks. They've shot down 3 of my sleighs.
Right? Like, how many reindeer did he lose in those ensuing years?
I'm just imagining 1942 Santa Claus has like 50 reindeer because they're pulling behind it a tank.
So
just elves strapped into the machine guns.
and while Lucy is off doing that, Scott is just like creating mayhem for Jack Frost, and he's at one point is standing on top of the set gingerbread house and then falls through the roof. He's like, what are you going to do? Come and get me. And then he falls. And I'm like, okay, that's actually like the only. And then we had learned about like the talking pens from Curtis.
Yeah, I will say.
They record your voice.
Yeah, that was well enough done that I didn't realize until after they set it up that I was like,
oh.
Movie, I think I see what you just did there.
Right?
Congratulations for once being smart.
Right?
Smart enough that I didn't immediately, with my brain turned off, know exactly what was about to happen next.
So Curtis had given him a pen. He had talked to Jack Frost and managed to record Jack saying, of course, the phrase. So they steal. Lucy tosses the snow globe, which brings up another question of the snow globes. But she tosses the snow globe. Jack catches it, and so he's holding it, and he's like, now you can't trick me like I tricked you. And then Scott plays the thing. Time reverses, or they go back in time again.
Yeah, I feel like in the digital age, there's a lot of easy ways to like screw with all these clauses.
I know.
Like now that you can digitally reconstruct somebody saying something and footage of somebody, I'm like, now there's nothing. Like
Right.
all these magical contracts are just gonna fall apart.
So then we get sent back to them, to Scott's house, Christmas, what we find out is 12 years ago, from, when they were fighting, and from the original timeline as well, I guess, 12 years since everything.
Yeah, this is their moment where they go back and stop Biff from taking the sports almanac to the future.
Right, so he...
Remember when that was its own movie? Not the last 30 minutes of a movie?
So Scott is able to wrestle Jack Frost to the ground because he was expecting it. He manages to hold Jack Frost down behind the snowman like we...
Yeah. What's great is they keep cutting from them to, like, the original movie scenes.
Yes.
But it's like they're close enough that Tim Allen should be able to hear the two of them.
Right, because it's not like they're being quiet.
Yeah, and it's not like they're, like, wearing white clothes. They're two dudes in dark clothes.
Right.
One really fat guy fighting...
That's just it. Jack Frost didn't get that fat either. He didn't get Santa Claus fat.
He got a little chunky.
He got a little... Right, but, other than that, he was Martin Short. With a, oversized puffy jacket.
It takes a lot to make Martin Short fat, all right?
But it manages to keep, everything the same where...
So that the original Santa could still die.
Scott goes out, catches Santa, Charlie comes out, they go on the roof.
Do you think there's, an awkward Santa heaven? Where, if you die and fade away, you show up and it's just, a bunch of dudes who are just like, hey...
Happened to you too, huh, man?
Yeah, so, you probably just want to go talk to Paul. He was Santa before you. Still pretty pissed.
Right? You should go apologize, man.
He's, he had a lot of plans. Had 3 kids. Did you know about? No, you didn't, did you? They're in Baltimore now.
Right. Growing up without their dad.
Still know what happened to their dad.
He just didn't come home one Christmas.
The whole going out for cigarettes line and...
everything goes back to normal. They get transported back to where they had left, since it was the same.
Yeah,
the timeline just reset itself.
Timeline.
And then Jack is really bummed, and then he runs off. Scott makes amends with Carol, and all of that.
He's just okay, I guess you're fine.
And then we get the one other incident, the one other viewing of Charlie, where Charlie amassed the Council of Legendary Figures to assist with preparations because they're apparently super far behind. All of a sudden.
Yeah. Which seems like you have Father Time on your side. Why do you stop time? Build toys. Unstop time. Cool, now we've got a day.
Right. And then they find Lucy and her parents from the closet where Jack Frost had, ensconced.
Oh, yeah, we forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
And then froze them.
Yeah. Lucy caught them, caught Jack Frost stealing the snow globe. Her parents came running, and then he, like, freezes her parents, and then
leaves her fine. He's just like...
I mean, she's a kid. What is she gonna do?
You better not talk.
Or I'll do the same to you.
Or I'll freeze you. So instead, I'm going to lock you in this broom closet with 2 already frozen people.
Right.
And you can't get out. So you're going to starve or freeze to death?
Well, it's kind of implied that there's food in the closet, that it's like a food storage closet.
So you'll just have to spend what time you have mourning your frozen to death, your popsicle parents.
Right, like the trauma.
Until you run out of food or someone finally finds you.
But they
Imagine the poor elf who goes in there and is like, damn, I could really use a Red Bull right now.
No, not a Red Bull.
Whatever.
A Red Deer.
Oh, dumb. Goes to the machine and is like halfway through drinking it, and he looks over and just like makes eye contact with a little girl through like the slat in the door.
But, so then they bring out the parents, but then they're like, oh, there's nothing we can do.
It's such a dumb, like, at the time, I'm like, the movie's over.
And then we get to the cheese of the cheese.
Yes.
Like, this was arguably the worst.
There's so much plot in this movie, I had completely forgot they had set up the idea in the beginning that the little girl's hugs are so warm that they'll melt a frozen heart or something like that.
Yeah, so then they convince Lucy because she gives the warm hugs. She's so warm that she goes up and she hugs Jack Frost. And here's the question. Is he still Jack Frost after he melts?
I don't... Yeah, I also, he's just... It seems to be conveyed, like, now that he's unfrozen or whatever.
Right.
He's now innocent of everything he's done.
Right.
Like, it's like, he's good now.
Because basically the only way to thaw Lucy's parents is to thaw Jack Frost.
Yeah.
So she goes up, hugs him to save her parents, and her parents melt, and they're normal and seemingly fine.
Yeah. Well, and then, like, Jack Frost is now just, instead of the blue spiky hair and the blue suit, he now wears a white suit with dark hair that's slicked back. So I'm like, is he a televangelist now? Like, what? Does he still have ice powers?
Right.
I don't understand.
No, not even a little bit. So yeah, Jack Frost is now thawed, melted. Random dude in a power suit.
Cuddle? I don't understand.
But Christmas is saved. Lucy's parents are saved. All is well, and then the baby comes, and then we
smash back
to the elf children,
to the scene
and Carol.
I forgot existed.
I know.
And I was like, the fuck?
So much happened over the course of this movie in such a compressed timeline.
Like, end of the movie.
I know.
Cut to credits.
And so then we have, so Carol is explaining, and then in comes Santa with a baby Bjorn.
Yeah, the world's tiniest baby Bjorn, too. I don't know if it's because his fat suit is so big, but the baby Bjorn looks so little.
And the child, who we learn is a boy whose name is Buddy Claus.
Does that have significance?
No, but his name is Buddy Claus. They put a lot of emphasis on it, and I don't know why.
Yeah, like, I feel like they were almost setting it up like, next movie, Buddy Claus!
Maybe they were.
I'm like, that kid's gonna someday kill you, old man, and take your jacket.
Right.
I would love to watch...
And then we finally get credits!
Yes, oh, thank God, the credits. I would love to watch, like, a dark, gritty... Game of Thrones inspired, like, retelling of the legendary figures. So anyway, let's talk about some of the problems with this movie. I think if you've listened to this, you heard the first one, which is there's too much going on and it adds up to nothing. Yeah,
and it's so rushed because they have so much going on that you don't really get to explore. Because, they could have done more with the time travel bit and go the alternate timeline.
The whole bit of the movie. Like, that to me was the interesting part.
Right.
And it seemed like what they were kind of setting it up as it would have been really interesting if we got that a lot sooner, and then we could take a look at why it's important that Scott is Santa.
Right, yeah.
Like, what does a world without Scott as Santa Claus look like? How is...
Well, and they kind of touched on that in the second one. At one point, they briefly taught, like, Laura says that being Santa, when he explains about how he'll stop being Santa Claus if he doesn't find a wife in the next 27 days. At that point, I think it's the 27 days.
Oh my God, Santa Claus 28 days later.
But he...
the world's ending just because you didn't find a wife.
But, like, one of the things she says is that being Santa Claus is great for him because it's made him a better person and a better father.
Yeah.
So, just thought I'd put that out there.
Also, I don't know. I guess it's happened enough times that I can call it a cliche now. Whenever we have a story that creates, like, an alternate future, the main characters somehow always remember the previous timeline.
Yeah, but not, like, Jack... Maybe it's because they were the ones who were, like, holding the snow globe when all of this occurred. That's why they remember.
But it's never explained enough.
No.
Time travel film ever takes the time.
Nobody else remembers but Jack Frost and Scott Calvin. So, yeah.
I would have loved to see a little more of that. I feel like that's the heart of the movie, and there's just so much extra that we don't need. And I feel like the best parts of the movie are in that, where clearly that was the first draft.
Right.
And someone went, hey, some executive pulled a cigar out of his mouth and went, hey, that's pretty great. What if we threw in all this extra dumb stuff in the beginning, and we take out all the confusing time travel stuff, and we call it a movie? That's what it feels like to me.
He didn't pull the cigar out, though. He's talking through the one side of his mouth while he does it.
He pulled out one cigar. It turns out he had another on the other side of his mouth.
But one of my other big things is, like, I am all for puns. Anyone who knows me knows I love a good pun.
See, this movie annoys you always cringe, though. To be fair,
I like my puns.
I make bad puns.
I like my puns. I think I'm hilarious. I mean... Together, we are hilarious on this podcast. I mean, I might be biased, but whatever. But I like my own puns to annoy people, but yours are also really terrible. But that movie... It's always
really fun to be the one who's telling the pun.
Exactly!
It's less fun to be the person who's receiving the pun.
It's always so much funner being on the giving end of the pun.
It's like Christmas. It's better to give than to receive. And we're giving you a terrible movie. Enjoy it. It's bad.
We're giving you a review of a terrible movie.
So, what else about this movie? It's clearly, A, there's too much stuff going on with it. B, it's not able to get to the good parts fast enough. And when it does, it can't spend enough time on them. Yeah,
and then again, like I said before, the campiness, like all of that. It was like I was listening to, like, it wasn't nearly as good as, like, Batman Shark Repellent.
Or Mr. Freeze's lines from, what is that, Batman Forever?
Batman Forever, yes. Yeah, no, it was none of that. It was, like, trying to be that, but it was not.
No. So it was... The puns weren't as bad in the first two? At least not I remember.
There were no puns in the first. I've recently watched them, with it being the season. But no, like, there were more adult jokes in the first two. Not a lot of, there were no adult jokes. It was a lot of puns and a lot of terrible...
They probably understood that most of the adults would leave the room the second Tim Allen spat out Tim Allen.
Probably,
because I almost did. I was like ready. I was getting up. I was like, no, I have to watch this. I have to keep going.
You do, because it's within the first 5 minutes that happens.
Just like, no.
The writers were just... It's like all the good writers had walked away, and like everybody, like mediocre guys were trying to get in on it.
But I feel like there were nuggets, like the whole subtly using the recording pen in order to trick. I was like, that was good.
That's the part of the script they didn't mess with.
Yeah, like that was good, and I was like, even though it was kind of dumb, teasing the fact that the little girl's hugs would be what saved the day.
Right.
Good. Implemented terribly, but like a solid
Implemented it in the way that was...
The string is there, though.
Right.
So I feel like there is somewhere out there a decent script for this movie, and that someone went through and they're like, just add more jokes and,
right.
and in-laws.
Right.
Shove it with in-laws. But then don't make them relevant to the actual plot at all.
Other than annoying the hell out of Scott.
Yeah. Like, you could have replaced
and being
that with,
really judgmental.
You could have replaced that with us getting to know Jack more.
Right. Yeah. And it's just, it was just,
Like, they could have given so much more of this movie to Jack, and I would have been okay with it.
Exactly. Like, that's
what is it like? Like, we could have learned more about what it meant to be a legendary figure.
Right,
If it was popular, Tim Allen doesn't want to come back anymore. Hey, that's cool. We'll do a legendary figures movie.
Right, yeah. It's...
Also, I do want to point out, towards the end, was it just me, or did the Easter Bunny take over Jack's rapey kind of vibe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No, he was being also super creepy with Carol's mom.
Yeah, there was, like, in the credits, I almost turned the movie off, and they started showing, like, the bloopers.
Right, but it wasn't really bloopers. It was just, like, extra bits of scene that
there was
they
a couple
just...
bits where they, like, fudged the line.
Yeah,
but a lot of them
the
were just,
whole
like,
thing
extra
was...
scenes where the Easter Bunny's flirting with...
Beta carotene gives me a buzz. Like, what the heck?
I was just like, oh no!
Why?
This is bad.
So bad.
I know he's a bunny, but Jesus.
Right. And especially considering it's mentioned in the second one that he has children and they're all in private school. So, like, what?
Are there other bunnies?
But they're not just bunnies. It's an anthropomorphic bunny. It's not a regular bunny. It's like the cats from Cats.
But now I'm scared because either there's more bunnies like him and he's just the Easter Bunny, terrifying, or
there's human bunny hybrids,
or bunny like humanoid hybrids. Both I find equally disturbing.
Right. That opens up a whole can of worms that we don't even want to open.
You know what? I take it back. I take back my request for the Legendary Figures movie. just take that one right off the table.
I'll give you a better option for that. There is a better option for that. It was... Oh my gosh.
I think I know what you're talking about. It was animated.
The animated one. Yes, that one was a good one.
Okay.
We don't get any of that. In fact, I think it's Hugh Jackman who voices the Easter Bunny. So you have that whole thing.
So we've been talking about this movie for over an hour now.
Yeah.
God help us. God help us, everyone. How do we make this a better movie?
I would run with that original, like that part, and then just like expand upon it.
Yeah.
I would remove the camp and all the elf puns and all the Jack Frost puns and ice puns and all of that. I would take that out and, try to establish the feel that we had in the first and second movie, a whole family thing where you get a lot of inappropriateness and we get more of Jack Frost. And because I love Martin Short, but I did not love this movie.
I have an idea for this movie, but I feel like it's too far away from the tone that it wouldn't work. Where I almost want to make Jack a little more sympathetic.
Okay.
And show sort of through Santa and some of the other characters, instead of giving too much of the background of like, we're having a baby and I got the in-laws and all that other shenanigans, having it like where we get to see a little bit of what Jack's life is like and how much he feels underutilized.
Right.
And then
have that be our exposition instead of what we were given.
Yeah, and so instead of it being like, I just got lazy and I didn't want to be Santa Claus anymore, have it be like he feels like he's unfairly treated, and then once he finally becomes Santa Claus, like it's not enough. He's going into it for revenge rather than like a love of what he's doing.
Right, he wants the
power instead of actually being a good Santa Claus.
Right.
He's all in it for the respect and the power that comes with it.
Right, which is why he commercializes the North Pole and all of that.
And I'd really like to see an ending in a children's movie where instead of, as much as I love that recording bit, to have the villain be essentially persuaded and to realize through the hero's actions or like great speech or whatever, be like, you know what, you're right, I'm doing this for the wrong reasons, and to voluntarily take off the coat or say the words
so that they can go back and
have the whole pin thing, but then like when the audience is like, I know what's coming, instead subvert those expectations and be like, no, in the end he chooses not to be Santa Claus anymore.
Right.
And so you can have your good ending where you feel better, and you can have your ending where Jack's not a villain, and where it's like, yeah, I did bad, but I want to be a better person now.
And so that he, like, thaws on his own
you don't have
instead
to do the silly, with true love's hug.
Right. My hug is melting your frozen heart, or whatever it was she said.
Have Jack choose to be a better person.
Right.
And you can end on that note.
Right, yeah. No, there were a lot of ways that, it makes me wonder, like, what, like, an original script looked like, and what it ended up being, because it was just...
I will note, other than the main two writers that are credited, there were two other names, I don't have it in front of me, that were credited as, like, character writers.
Okay.
Who I wonder, I didn't go back to look, and I should have, to see if they were writers for previous movies who were brought back in to sort of pitch, like, character ideas or something like that. And then, because I wonder how much of the original story was penned by our two main writers, and how much of it came from notes and ideas from previous writers or other writers who were brought on, and then taken and sort of twisted into the Eldritch Abomination movie we have now. But anyway, that was a retcon.
Yes.
Of a franchise I never thought I'd actually sit down and watch, so thank you, Cheyenne. Tell us what your thoughts are. Let us know. Did you agree with us? Is the Santa Claus 3, the Escape Clause, the greatest film that's ever been made? And if you think so, let's discuss.
Right? You gotta have some really good reasons for that one.
I'm very excited to hear what you have to say.
Right?
But yeah, we'll see you guys next week with another normal We the Fandom episode, and we'll be announcing soon what our next retcon will be. Okay, bye!
Bye!